Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the main event. You here with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
We've got yet another group preview for you. We've got Group F. Aaron, bit of a juicy one for some picks. Obviously, it was one that we pointed out straight away. I don't know why I said way like away there. Must be drunk. Drunk on the potential of Karim Benzema points quite clearly. Has your opinion changed on this group at all, or is it still just the same?
I think the biggest struggle with this group, once, as soon as I saw it, I was like, Real Madrid, unreal. I mean, it got ruined to me a little bit in the chat of the live stream. People talking about Benzema in like the first few minutes, and I was like, I've not seen the groups yet, please. But then
Yeah.
when you read out the group, I was like, this makes sense. So Benzema is the new Lewandowski, who
So you're not going to have him then?
he's what I forgot what Micah Richards said. I was going to quote him, but isn't he?
He's
He's
now on the
level with
same
Harry
level as
Kane,
Harry Kane, yeah.
and it was only that year that he realized he's a good player.
Yeah,
Oh,
gets paid to do that. People say he's a good pundit because he laughs a lot.
it's just because he laughs. Anyways, we digress. Real Madrid, I think it's going to be just a struggle on how like which assets to choose out of their starting 11 because I think all of them have the potential to feast. So I think that's going to be the biggest difference between them, between people in high ranks and low ranks. I don't think Benzema is going to be the difference. I think the majority of people have him. It's who they have with Benzema is going to be the difference in maybe who assists him and stuff. And can you fit Vinicius Junior into your team as well and still have a good team? So that's going to be, I think, the biggest sway in ranks.
So we'll start with Real Madrid. They are the top seeds in the group. They've had a bit of a merry-go-round in the transfer window. They've gotten rid of Isco, Casemiro, finally got rid of Jovic on a free, and Gareth Bale. So they cleared some deadwood and they brought in a few players, but the main ones are Rudiger and Tchouameni. Aaron, do you want to go through Real Madrid? Who do we need
Yes.
to bring in alongside Benzema?
Love the little lisp there.
Live.
Um, so I think the biggest ones that a lot of people, like I've seen a lot of people in it, I think we fall trap into this every year is Alaba. Um, like I think there's better defenders like Rudiger that I've mentioned in one of the previous episodes. His just mazy attack and run that he can just go on. He's just so attacking. And when we look at kind of the Real Madrid team, there's still some nicely priced options. The fact that Lucas Vasquez, 5 million defender, I think that's a pretty. I mean, if we get a lineup and he's playing right wing instead of Valverde, it's a really good shout. The fact that the majority of their defenders is 5.5 is quite nice, especially if you can't fit in some of these 6 million plus wing backs, because Militao, he was the second highest goal scoring point scoring defender last season, 60 points. Obviously, you've got Courtois, but all the defenders are cheaper. They have a higher potential of points. I'd probably go for defenders. Mendy and Alaba are 6. So again, that backs up. Don't go Alaba, even though he did score a free kick. He rarely probably does that once a season. That's probably it. He's met that quota. So Militao is actually or Rudiger is the shout for me personally, in terms of who to get for defense. But Valverde's been playing on the right wing as a 6.5 midfielder. I
He's
think
a 5.5 midfielder, I think.
no
Don't know
six
why.
point five.
Is he? I've got written down 5.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
I'm
Um,
blind.
and I think the biggest thing as well is that, and I mentioned this in one of the, um, I mean, Valverde is a good shout. He got the assist for the, was it the Champions League winning goal? Vinicius Junior.
Yeah, he did.
Um, and he always tracks back. especially when I don't think he'll have an issue with that this year. But when it gets to the knockout stages and players like Cancelo start to attack, like they've got wing backs, Valverde can pick up a good few ball recoveries there. My biggest one as well that I'm paying attention to is who fills in the role of Casemiro, because I mentioned on the weekly updates that Casemiro was often had the highest ball recovery points, which is often why he was the highest priced CDM. But I was gutted when he got transferred, to be honest, and he was out of this game, because when he was 5.5, I was like, yes, get in. But the two possible replacements, Camavinga, who can also be very good at attacking, and Tchouaméni are both 6 million. So that is in comparison to the rest of the defensive midfielders, they're actually quite priced in the middle, and so they both become really interesting options if we have kind of an idea on who Ancelotti prefers in that defensive role. But obviously the top two picks, Vinicius Jr., Benzema, priced correctly, because they are both just phenomenal, as proved on the weekend.
Yeah. So just to talk through what Ancelotti's been going for with his formation and team, obviously 4-3-3, pretty standard for Madrid. Courtois the goalkeeper. Carvajal and Vasquez have rotated at right back. Vasquez has had 2 games, Carvajal's had 1. Vasquez has got a goal from there. Centre backs have rotated, so Rudiger's played 2, Militao's played 2, Nacho's played 1, Alaba's played 1 in the middle. He's came on for Mendy at left back. He started 1 at left back. Mendy starting 2 at left back. So there's massive rotation in defence. I think after the next game, we'll have a more clear idea of who he favours in those positions. I'd stay away from the right backs. Just stay away from them. And then, for once, I think Alaba's probably the best pick in defence, because he can play left back or centre back, and I think Ancelotti wants to play him. And at left back, I still think he's class. It's centre backs. I've always had issues with him, and I mean we've seen him in some big games. I know lots of people maybe perhaps didn't agree with us, and then I think they watched him in that first game against Man City, and he was absolutely dire for 45 minutes. Like, well, he's not a centre back. In midfield, Tchouaméni's the only one that's played all 3 games so far in that holding role. So for 6 million, I already feel like he would be the one to go to for the ball recoveries. Camavinga's played 2, Modric has played 2, Kroos has played 2. Modric, however, does have a goal and assist in those games. Tchouaméni has got an assist. So Modric for 7 million, I still think I prefer over Valverde for 6.5. Even though Valverde, you're right, has played 3 games on the right wing. He's got a goal from there, but he got subbed off in the last game for Rodrigo, who got an assist.
That normally happens, isn't it? That's kind of like a fixed, like Leicester City style substitution, which right on the minute Valverde is coming off for Rodrigo.
Valverde was rubbish in that game as well. He was so bad, but he's been good previous to that. I think he's a quality midfielder. I think someone put on Twitter, name most underrated midfielders in the world, and I put Valverde on there because I think he's massively underrated. Benzema, all 3 games through the middle, has 1 penalty goal, 1 standard goal, and 1 assist. Vinicius Jr., all 3 games on the left, 2 goals and an assist. He did get subbed off in the 4-1 win. Hazard came on and missed a pen. So there you go. Vinicius Jr. at 10 million, Benzema at 11. They are both currently in my first draft. And I just like them both for all the fixtures. Even if you were thinking Celtic away is a tough game, which I agree, I think it is a tough game. I think a lot of people are going to be either limitless wildcarding in 2 and then wildcarding in 3. This is what I've heard a lot of people say. Once we've done all of our previews, I make the decision on whether I go for that or whether I stick to my initial plan of wildcard in 2 and then limitless in 6. But I think you could even give Vinicius Jr. a miss for the Celtic game if you wanted to. Just Celtic away. is a dodgy ground. People need to be aware that that crowd's nuts. And I've seen Barcelona go there and get beat. I've also seen Barcelona go there and absolutely hammer them. But Celtic went through a phase, I remember, when it was unbelievable. And Joe Hart's one of those keepers where he's been through the mud a bit. He's been through the ringer, bless him. And I do feel for him because there was a time where he was one of the best keepers in the world. And I think he's got the most ever golden gloves in the Premier League. And I remember specifically there's one game, the year Bayern beat Dortmund in the final, and there was the group of death. And it was all the champions played each other. So it was Dortmund, Real Madrid, Ajax, and Man City. And I remember that Dortmund v Man City game where Roman Weidenfeller and Joe Hart just put in two of the most unbelievable goalkeeping performances I've ever seen just on that stage. I wouldn't put it past Joe Hart to just pull an absolute worldie out of his arse for this game. So I'm still going with Benzema. There is just no way on this earth I'm going a single game week without Benzema unless he starts having an absolute shocker. Vinny at 10, I feel like I could put my money elsewhere, into maybe like a Raheem Sterling, who's got a Zagreb at home or something first game. I think I'd do something like that, and then Vinny's going in on my wild card for Leipzig at home, and then a double against Shakhtar. 100%. That's a transfer I'm making match day 2. If I don't have him already in match day 1. Just to clear up, I think the last player that you've already mentioned, Rudiger 5.5. If you don't have enough money to go to Alaba, maybe you don't want Tchouaméni, that's fair. But honestly, Benzema, Vinny, Modric, you get them 3. I think you're well covered for the attacking returns.
I think a lot of people are obviously they've targeted this team, the champions, defending champions, and just having a look at the selected buy percentages of the team so far. Obviously, these will change. Not everyone's created their team yet. Benzema 51%, Courtois 44%, Modric 26%, Vinicius Jr. 23%. Then Alaba, Rudiger, and Militao all 14% each. So that's going to be huge, I think.
I think it's worth pointing out to people. Real Madrid played 3 games this season, won all 3, so the first in La Liga. 2-1, 4-1, 3-1. They've not kept a clean sheet yet, and they've not played anyone like half decent.
I mean, Joselu scored against the
they're a team that fall asleep at the wheel, and Courtois he's such a good keeper. But the reason why him, Militao, etc., got so many points is they're the only one of 2 teams that played all 13 games. If you play more games, you're going to get more points. So yeah, I also need to have a quick look. Maybe if we get another notification, because Leipzig are in this group. Leipzig are up next. And as we're recording this, they just went 4-0 up. And I've got absolutely no idea who's done anything. So, Aaron, are you able to check that out while I talk through Leipzig?
I will.
So, Leipzig. Just need to clear something up from one of our previous previews. Talking about Sesko at Salzburg. Totally forgot. He signed for Leipzig anyway. So that's one of the transfers in, along with Werner. Top work from me and Aaron there. It's all the bloody Red Bull teams. So annoying. And they've also signed a new left back / wing back / midfielder. Is Raum, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Transfers out. Angelino's gone on loan. Mukiele is off to PSG, and Leeds have bought Tyler Adams. So a few ins, few outs. They're in mixed form. 2 draws to start the season, 1-1, 2-2. They then got beat 2-1, and they won the previous game 2-0. However, they are winning 4-0 currently. Aaron, can you just quickly throw out who's scoring this?
Yes. So this, just to bear in mind that this is in the cup.
Okay.
The team that they are against is Google's not even telling me what league they're in.
It doesn't matter.
But it's a Werner hat trick, and he's got an assist for Andre Silva as well.
Terrific. Neither.
I wouldn't read into this result.
Glasgow's, interestingly enough, their starting keeper, but he's got a muscle injury at the minute. So in the previous game, Blaswich has came in, or Blasvich, however I pronounce that. So that's the game that kept a clean sheet in. No idea whether to read too much into that or not. But either way, I wouldn't be getting any Leipzig defender in when they're conceding that many goals as it is. So looking at their defence, and they play three at the back. They mix between having one holding midfielder and then two attacking midfielders, or two central midfielders and one attacking midfielder. So it's a bit all over the place. But the three centre backs, Klosterman, Orban, and Halstenberg. Klosterman's ruptured a ligament, so you don't want any of that. Simikans came in for him. Gvardiol has also came in for Halstenberg for one of the fixtures. So Halstenberg's played 3 of the 4. Orban's played all 4. Simikan is in for Klosterman, playing the remaining 3. So if you were looking at any one of them, which I don't know why you would, it's Orban. Novoa has played right mid a couple of times. Henriks played right mid a couple of times, but Henriks has also played central midfield twice. Henriks has 1 assist, so nothing looking great here. Honestly, I kind of just want to skip everything and go into Dominic Soboslai. He is not the player that we used to know and love. He's played once, got a red card after like 25 minutes. He's playing through the middle. He suits being out on the left. He needs a bit of time and space, the ability to cut in, and he's just being misused at the minute at Leipzig. Danny Olmo, 4 starts in central midfield, and he's got 3 assists. Can't argue with that for 6.5 million. So for those games, if we look, they've got Shakhtar game week 1. If you are going down any kind of wildcard route in 2 or 3, then I think Danny Olmo at 6.5 million is a massively good pick. And then also we've got one of the legends of this game in Nkunku. He's got 3 goals and a penalty goal. So 4 goals overall, 9 million midfielder. He is so good. He's worth the 9 million. Werner and Silva rotated up front. Only Werner scored, and he scored once.
Before today.
Yeah, before his hat-trick today against the Farmers.
Yeah, so, Google doesn't even tell me what league they're in. I think with Leipzig, obviously, that first match is probably the one to target. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about Shakhtar in a moment. But just in terms of kind of player percentages and stuff like that, I think they're quite actually a low-owned team, but that's probably because of the group that they're in. Everyone's targeting Barcelona and not Barcelona, Real Madrid. How dare I even confuse the two again, honestly. That's a death wish. But just in terms of like the selected by percentage, Nkunku is 14%, and he's the most highly owned. Werner's second was 6%. So to be honest, any person from this team is a punt. But for me personally, unless you're bringing them in for this first game week, match day, whatever you want to call it, I wouldn't keep them around for very long. I don't think they're a punt to use for the full group stage, maybe except Nkunku.
Yeah, I think the only 2 that I'd remotely consider would be Nkunku and Olmo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd happily have Nkunku for all the games.
Olmo 1% owned currently.
Almost 1%. I'd have Olmo for that first game. Nkunku, I think, just keep him and have him, because he can score against anyone. It's not like Madrid are keeping clean sheets.
Very true. Very true. Moving on to obviously Shakhtar, their opponents. So they played quite a lot of friendlies because there was obviously with the stuff going on in Ukraine. I'm not sure if people have heard, but obviously with their kind of league just now starting, getting the go ahead, and with the circumstances that they have to play in, the a lot. I'm sure, was it all of the Ukrainian teams who had the option of sending out players on loan or free transfers, or I'm not sure exactly how that worked.
Yeah.
But a good few players took that chance to move to different teams, and I'm pretty sure that they can go back after things have cleared up if they do. And so they've played 2 games so far. They've not conceded any, which is great. But again, I think I say this all the time, like I think we just need to say it once as a blanket statement, probably in the description of every video. All of these things are dependent on the leagues that they're playing in. Like, the Champions League is just just a completely different beast. So they play on Friday, which is nice that other leagues let teams play early if they've got a Champions League and not the Premier League. Make too much money from TV. Sound like Klopp now. But it's at Leipzig for the first game, and it's already, according to the win probability calculator on Google, Shakhtar have an 8% chance of getting a result. So, in terms of players, it's looking pretty rough. And I've not actually seen all their prices. I think, yeah. So Traore, 8 million forward. No. Everyone else is 6 million and under. With all the defenders being 4.5. So maybe the Shakhtar Celtic game, but honestly, I think I said it in the weekly episodes. I think Shakhtar they're just going to take that kind of revenue that comes from the Champions League and use it for their better causes for Ukraine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've pulled out one player that's played both games. Here we go. Mikhail Chenko, 4 million fullback.
So one of a rare one this year, 4 million.
A rare 4 million defender, played both games. So if you want a 4 million, okay.
It depends how many goals get scored against them.
I cannot see it. I won't be. I think there are other £4 million defenders in this game that you'd go to well ahead of this guy,
because it's the minus. The minus was from the goals conceded, which is probably going to make it worthless.
Yeah, just don't bother. We'll move on to Celtic, who, yes, Madrid at home is an interesting fixture. Then Shakhtar away, again interesting. But I think I think we need to, when I go through these scores, remember that it is the Scottish Premier League and Celtic have won 52 of them.
It is the Old Firm on Saturday. Sorry,
that'll be a better ride, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the result to go off. I think the exact same starting 11 from that game will play, and obviously there will be one more kind of weekly update video before this round of fixtures, which will come out on Monday, potentially Sunday actually, because I don't think there'll be many people playing on Sunday if they're playing in the Champions League. But yeah, that'll be obviously one of the first games being talked about just because they're both qualified for the Champions League. So I think that's going to be the kind of the game to judge off and see how these teams perform.
Yeah, I agree. If we go through, they've won, I just took the last 4 games, they are top of the SPL. 3-1, 5-0, 2-0, 9-0. Joe Hart is the goalkeeper. Juranovic is the right back. Carter Vickers nailed as one of the centre-backs. The other centre-backs rotated between Jens and Starfelt. Taylor is the left back. Centre mids, O'Reilly and McGregor played all 4 of those games. Turnbull's played 3 of the last 4 with I've got no idea how to pronounce this name. Either Hatate or Hatate? Hatate? No idea. Who actually got an assist. I wouldn't be going either way for any Celtic centre mids. Jota has played all 4 games, 3 of them being on the right wing, 1 of them being on the left. Maeda has played 3 games on the left. Abada has played 1 of the games on the right that Jota played on the left. And Furuhashi is the striker with Giacomakis coming off the bench a couple of times for him. Now, if we try and work our way through the goals, the centre-back Jens has actually scored twice, and Starfelt, the person that occasionally comes on for him, has replaced him, has also scored twice. They're both 4.5 million. I still don't think I'll have them against Real Madrid. Would you have them against Shakhtar away and then Leipzig at home? Maybe. But Juranovic is also 4.5. So maybe you'd want to go for him as he's just 100% nailed. I don't think I'd want to risk on a Celtic centre-back, personally. But when we look at, I mean, there's just a couple of standouts here. It's either Jota or Jota. I don't know his nationality, so I can't say. But he has got 3 assists in that 3-1 win. He then got a goal in the 5-0 win. And he got a goal and assist in the 9-0 win. Furuhashi got a goal in the 3-1 win. He got a goal in the 5-0 win. He got a goal in the 2-0 win. And he got a hat-trick and an assist in the 9-0. Maeda has got 3 assists in total, and Abada has 3 goals and 1 assist. So if we just look at the prices, standouts for me are Jota at 6.5 million for a midfielder. That's not bad. But Furuhashi playing as a striker, and he's a 7.5 million midfielder. So,
and Shakhtar,
if you're going for the limitless wild card in 2, Shakhtar away, or if you want to limit this wild card in 5 for Shakhtar at home, even better. I think that's a solid pick. Even Madrid at home, I think Celtic will score against Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid will win, but I think Celtic will score. And Furuhashi or Jota are probably going to be involved. So for 6.5 or 7.5 million, Furuhashi playing up front, I think that's very tasty. I don't think he's going to, by the looks of it, get massive returns. I don't think he's got a huge ceiling. I appreciate the last game with 3 goals and assists, but they scored 9. So I think if we look at how consistent he's been, he looks like a player that can score in any game, but just a single goal, which is fine. I think you're right, though, Aaron. We need to wait for the Rangers game, see what the starting lineup is, see how they play more than anything else. What do you think about Celtic?
Just whenever I was, obviously when I was covering Celtic, obviously them being a team that had already qualified, just due to, funnily enough, due to Rangers' performances last year in Europe, Scotland then went up the kind of chart of leagues and kind of stuff like that. So Rangers made Celtic qualify, which is just funny. But whenever I was covering them, kind of seeing what their scores were, I was always like, oh, Celtic win again, Celtic win again. But it was always Furuhashi. I was like, we need to look at how much he is and what price or what group he's drawn in. And he's got 2 games where you could play him again, like actually use him. So depending on your limitless strategy, Furuhashi could be an option. Because let's face it, like, I think he's the penalty taker as well. So he basically would take up the equivalent of like a 4.5 or a 5 million midfielder spot. And you'd much rather have a starting striker who is on penalties, that if Celtic were able to get their fans behind, he could create something. But we'll probably cover that in that match day. What you said, though, against Real Madrid, you see them scoring. I would like to believe that Real Madrid would keep a clean sheet, but with Celtic's atmosphere, I mean, it's one of the best atmospheres in the world, so I've heard, when it's a European night, full stadium against Real Madrid, welcome back to the Champions League. What a match to do it. So anything could happen on a night like that when it's a little bit chilly in Scotland compared to Madrid.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a fixture that we should underestimate. So I think that's that for those teams. It's actually a lot to think about because this is really one of the groups that we do need to think about the fixtures and try to manipulate those fixtures. So if you have stuck with us to the end, thank you very much. Do appreciate it. You can catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts with a main event. We are on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you next time for the next group preview. Bye now.